If you've ever asked friends and family for travel advice, you might not have gotten the response that you were hoping for.
But what if you could ask an expert?
We asked our audience their most burning travel FAQs, and we're here to give you some of our answers.
Let's jump in.
I'd be more up for the best single shoe that can do it all. I think that's the unicorn we're all looking for. Waterproof all day and capable of dressing up. So we look for shoes that you can wear in multiple situations. So when you're picking shoes for men, what do you typically look for?
I'm a little bit biased because I like barefoot minimalist shoes, and I've been going with Vivo Barefoots for like the longest time. They're like super packable, super compact, super lightweight, and I personally like that style of shoes. So for me, I'm sort of limited by what barefoot options are out there that actually look good.
Yeah.
And there's not many of them.
Yeah, that's
And then
fair.
when you want to dress them up or down, like it doesn't really work either. So Vivo Barefoot, I think, strikes a really good balance there. If I wasn't constrained, it's so hard to find like one shoe that does it all. But I had these pair of Crocs. They actually look like tennis shoes. I feel like they do everything but like dress up because they actually have support. They're
Yeah.
like tennis shoes, but they don't quite make it at like a Michelin star
Yeah.
restaurant. So
I think the dressing up is the hardest thing to find because you can find like a waterproof shoe, like Tropic Feel, they have a lot of waterproof shoes.
Yeah.
I wear those like all summer long. They have some that are a little bit more breathable and then some that keep water out entirely. But I think when you're picking a shoe, it's picking whatever you're gonna be doing the most of. So if you're gonna be hiking a ton, picking a shoe that's good at that,
Yeah.
and then making sure it's just a version that can kind of slip through the other things you need. Like a hiking shoe's never gonna look formal, but if you're going to like a formal event, you should probably just bring an extra pair of formal shoes anyway, honestly.
100% too. And the thing about packing them too is you're always going to be wearing one. So if you have a super bulky pair of shoes, just wear those while you're in transit, and then pack one or two away in your bag that are maybe more smaller, more minimal, like flats or like barefoot shoes that you can just like compress down.
Yeah, I've worn hiking shoes on a plane multiple times.
Yeah.
But
There
for
you go.
women too, there are packable flats, like ballet flats in
Sure.
general are packable, but also teaks are super foldable and comfortable
A
as well.
foldable
and they look
flat. I was
nice.
looking at those the other day.
Yeah,
A
we have 'em over
foldable
here.
Flat.
I like these. They feel really sturdy and durable. I think flats, depending on the kind you get, can start to feel like they're going to start to break when
Yeah.
you do like fold them up. I personally would just leave these flat and
Sure.
then just pack them in a bag. I don't think they need to be foldable, but they do have a little bit of durability on the bottom there, which I like.
Why are these foldable? Like they're not more packable. They're not more compact. If anything, they're like slightly less.
They come with a tiny little shoe pouch that they can fit in.
Okay.
And I think honestly the only foldable angle there is that you can just make these really small and probably shove them in like a purse or something. But even then, this is going to take up a different footprint,
Right.
literally, than this.
Got them. Nice.
But I mean, maybe if your purse isn't long enough, you could.
Oh, your purse. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
gotcha.
say these are more probably purse versus like a travel backpack.
Okay, gotcha.
Doesn't everyone take off their shoes while flying? That seems weird to say, please don't take them off. So airlines actually are starting to make rules about taking your shoes off, but it sounds like it's more of a don't take your socks off too at your airplane seat type of a thing. Like Delta and American Airlines
Yeah.
are like, it's like in their code of conduct. But how do you feel when people take their shoes off while they're flying?
Well, what's the point of it? Because for me, I always just leave them on, and then when people take them off, it like smells gross. So why would someone want to? Because I think you do, right? Or
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
comfort thing, I think.
Yeah.
So there are some shoes that are more breathable. So something like this.
Oh, so it's like a
from-
breathability thing.
Yeah, so like Tropic Feel, these shoes here have a super breathable upper, and they're redesigning these shoes a bit. But
Yeah.
I wore these all last year. I wore them on multiple flights. And because they're so breezy, like if it's a windy day, I feel an active breeze going through the shoe.
Ooh, nice.
It is actually,
I
it's
like
very
that.
nice. Yeah, it like cools it down a little bit.
It's like air conditioning. on your
Yeah, but it feels nice. But if I'm going to, so like that helps with the breathability. My feet don't feel so hot.
Yeah.
But if I want to take my shoes off on a flight, I do it right at the beginning before they have a chance to get very smelly.
Bare
And I'll
feet?
I'll bring an extra pair of socks. And I'll bring like fuzzy socks and wear those. But that's mostly on
Okay.
long haul flights where I want to sleep.
Has anyone ever
anyway.
commented or anything?
No.
If you're wearing socks, maybe is it okay? I don't know.
Yeah, I personally think so. I also think just be aware of yourself, and if you know that you have smelly feet, or if you're traveling with
Don't
something,
do
be
it.
like, hey, tell me if I start to smell and I'll put my shoes on. Like, it's just a courtesy thing.
Yeah.
If you're traveling by yourself and you're not quite sure, then maybe keep them on.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never taken them off. I always leave them on.
Yeah. I don't really mind keeping them on either.
Yeah.
If you don't have priority boarding, where would you suggest sitting on the plane? Where
I
do
have
you
opinions
pick?
on this, yeah.
Okay, go.
So when I was working at Apple, I would be doing a lot of traveling. They knew that my preference was an aisle seat on the left side of the plane.
Interesting.
So I could let my mouse elbow out a little bit when I'm on my computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if I'm the other side, like I can't work. I'm like a
Yeah.
T-Rex. So like I need right-handed on the trackpad or whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it doesn't
That's
matter
smart.
to me. Like I just like aisle seat personally.
Yeah.
But it's got to be on the left.
So you don't care location, like front to back where you are?
I personally like the back a little bit better because it is slower to get off, but if you're not paying for a priority boarding and you want to go to the back, you have like more opportunity for overhead bin.
Yeah, I agree.
And put your bag in the right way.
I do think it also comes down to what kind of experience you want in the actual flying. I know more nervous flyers would rather have less turbulence, and over the
Yeah.
wings is much more stable. I recently sat in the back of a flight, and I am not a nervous flyer, but I'm a little more aware of my mortality lately, and I'm like, in
I
the
feel like
back.
we need a video on that.
Yeah, I was in the back of the plane, and it was like, you feel like you're in the back of a roller coaster a little bit, and it's a little bit more rocky. The front can be the same way, and then also if you're sitting in the back, the engine can be pretty loud too. So
Totally.
generally the front's a little bit quieter, but it can still be kind of bumpy. So I think it just comes down to like what kind of flyer you are. So for you, working on the plane, being in the aisle was essential because then you had the elbow room. But for me, I don't care where I am as long as I'm over the wing, apparently.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And I'm always aware when the carts come by, I try to tuck in, give a little more space.
That's nice, very courteous.
Yeah.
What's the best way to block spam from interrupting my trip? Spam calls are always annoying, but they're extra annoying when you're traveling. I used to wonder how those companies got my information, but I learned that it can happen when you sign up for things like store or travel rewards. You may hand out your name, address, phone number, or financial details to sites you legitimately want to do business with, but they might turn around and sell that info to data brokers who then peddle it to other companies. However, spam calls stopped virtually overnight when I started working with Incogni, this video's sponsor. Now I don't have to decide whether I want to answer the phone on a trip. All I do is sign in with the email where I want to eliminate spam, and Incogni does the rest. Since I started working with them, they've gotten my information removed from more than 800 sites, with Incogni making the calls and handling any objections. Plus, their family plan lets me share my subscription with 4 others so we can all travel in peace. You can get started for less today. Incogni is giving Pack Hacker viewers a 60% discount on an annual plan when you sign up with code PackHacker at the link in the description. Now, on to the next question. Packing cubes take up space and are not needed. I've traveled to 40 countries for 30 years, now racking up millions of miles. Never have used these or eye masks. Packing cubes, thoughts?
I mean, obviously I love them.
Yeah, we're big fans of them
This person's
here.
playing on hardcore mode, which I can respect, for sure.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things with packing cubes is you always, well, one, they compress gear that like needs it. Like
Yeah.
a pair of pants you don't necessarily need, but if there's like a puffer jacket or something, even like some t-shirts or socks, like it just compresses everything and gets it nice
Yeah.
and tidy and easier to pack, right?
Yeah, and you use Peak Design packing cubes.
I do. Peak Design
mostly.
packing cubes for this. I really like them. I've got 2 of these and then the shoe pouch, and then I've got like 2 other pouches for my tech kit and my DOP kit. Keeps everything organized. It's like easier to pack too. I find I forget less stuff.
I agree.
Because you go from like having 80 things out that you want to pack to like 5.
Yeah.
And as long as you put those 5 in your bag, then you have everything. So
Yeah.
it like steps your packing a little bit. It makes it
Yeah,
easier.
for sure. And if I can't remember if I brought something, I know that I put all of my pants in one cube
Sure.
and I just pop in there and I grab it versus
Yeah.
like
Unpacking your whole bag.
unpacking your whole bag, or if you have everything just in a suitcase or in a travel backpack, sometimes something will end up on the bottom and
Yeah.
then you're just kind of like dislodging everything to get to something.
Mm-hmm.
But I know some people think that it's like it can be like an expense thing where you don't want to pay for individual packing cubes or
Right.
something like that, but
Those
they
ones
do
are
have
cheaper, right?
Yeah, they do have like solid options. Like these ones from Bagsmart, I was really, and these are I believe SBS zippers, but I was really impressed with how well it compressed everything down, and I didn't feel like the zipper, like I packed these things full, and it didn't feel like the zipper was gonna break or anything, and it gave me a good amount of compression. So
What a pack hacker.
it
Packing
re-
everything.
I-
It's so
yeah,
full.
It's so full. So I like these. They were a little bit more budget. They ended up being like $7 a cube, and you got like 6 or
Yeah,
8 or something
that's
like
cool.
that in a pack. So I liked that personally. I think people who don't like packing cubes maybe aren't also getting compression cubes because those have, I think, more of a function.
Yeah.
I don't see the point of a packing cube apart from segmentation to hold your gear, because it's not actually giving you anything other than just making it not fly around. Like, I think if you're going to go for it, you might as well save a little bit of space.
100%. Yeah. You don't really need them, but they just help, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best way to keep small items organized once in a hotel room, say on a bedside table or a desk? So as you can tell from Packing Cubes, we love organizing our gear. So what do you usually do once you actually get to your hotel room?
Good segue. So I tend to keep a lot of this stuff in their respective pouches. So I'll usually like hang up all my clothes or like fold them or put them in drawers or whatever, which is fine. But then I usually put like my tech kit either on the desk or just like next to the bed, wherever it ends up fitting best. And then I just put the dop kit in the bathroom, and I just kind of take things out as I need them.
Yeah.
Like after I use them, and then I kind of either just set them nearby, or if my dop kit's hanging, if the counter space is limited, my dop kit's hanging up, I'll put it back in the dop kit. But I find that I usually just take things out as I need them, and then eventually it kind of just is just laying out on the table.
Yeah, it unpacks and you kind of put it where you need
Yeah.
it to, where you need to access it most
Totally.
often. I think it comes down to what kind of like pouch you have. So we got
Totally.
like two
Standing
different
pouch,
options
yeah.
here. Like with this like Air Pro Kit,
Right.
it stands up really well on its own, so you could use it almost
Yep.
like as a desk caddy.
All right.
Whereas this
Stands
one
up on its own too.
This one stands up on its own, but it's also this
As
is
it
their
falls over. I mean, it's empty.
yeah. This one is this toiletry kit is so large that like for me, I usually leave everything in their pouches. Like I'll take out a charger and plug it in and leave that plugged in or something. But toiletries, I think, is the one thing where it just depends on which kit I'm testing, honestly. Like if it's a hang-up kit, I'll leave it hanging up and leave things in there. But if I don't have a ton of counter space, I'll largely leave things in here and just like sift around for
Yeah.
it. But if I have the counter space, I'll create like a little corner. I would say, because we're already using kits in our bag,
Yeah.
we just use those to stay organized while we're in the
Yeah.
hotel room. And then if you can unpack because you're staying longer, that's
Yeah.
nice. And it's just convenient.
Just becomes like a desktop organizer at that point.
Yeah, essentially.
Desktop, bathroom, whatever.
Yeah, plus you're less likely to leave things behind because everything stays in
Yeah.
its place. So when you do your last sweep, you're not like looking under the bed
Yeah.
to make sure that you didn't like lose a
I
cable.
bet you never put things in drawers at like hotels and stuff.
No,
Gone
I
forever.
very rarely. And if I do, I check it 12 times before I leave, and
Yeah.
then one last time on my way out the
Oh
door.
my God. I mean,
So,
that's good.
yeah.
If I do, I don't check it in. I leave stuff there. So I just never do.
Ain't no way. Ain't no way. Why are there so many checks when you are checking in your luggage, but none when you are collecting? I thought this was such a good point.
Yeah.
Because
Such a good shower thought.
yeah, it's just a free-for-all.
Yeah.
You go and all of your luggage is coming out, and they just trust that you're gonna go and grab yours. So with that, like, we do mostly carry-on, so we don't have to like check our luggage and get it from the carousel, but obviously there are instances where you have to do that, and we've done it in the past. So how do you generally like ease your mind that you have all of your gear with you and nobody's just grabbing your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, quick thing on this, it probably has to do with like if someone doesn't get their bag, it's kind of self-regulating. If you don't get your bag, you're gonna complain. Whereas like if you're checking it in, that's an opportunity for revenue. So it's like, why would the business put in effort to where there's no revenue generation, which is on pickup? So I think that from a business perspective is interesting. But from the perspective of tagging luggage, I don't know, I was just using AirTag. But I
Yeah.
also just never check anything, and I'm like so averse to it. I will like try so hard not to check because I've had my luggage lost before one time. It's probably why I like started this company, and it's not great. So even if I have to check, I keep like a packable bag in my carry-on that I can then put my most important stuff into.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'm down a couple T-shirts and not my laptop and my camera, all the
Yeah.
expensive stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like mitigation. It's like, it's probably gonna get lost at some point. So
Right.
what don't I wanna get lost? I'll keep that on me.
I also think a good way to do this is to have, if you're going to be checking a bag regularly, to have like a really loud color or pattern.
Yeah.
Because then if somebody picks up your very specifically designed bag, you're gonna be like, what is that person doing? And it could be theirs too. You could have matching bags. I've seen that all the time.
Right.
But I think the odds are a little bit lower. So nobody's gonna steal like the most obvious looking bag.
I think a bright bag is also like less likely to get lost. I just think like the human eye is drawn to very colorful things.
Yeah.
So if there's like a baggage handler, wouldn't they like be subconsciously slightly more drawn to a bright bag? I
Yeah.
don't know.
I personally would.
As a
be.
person that only likes black backpacks, I'm maybe gonna have to reconsider here.
Yeah, we go just neon orange from this point
Yeah,
forward.
boom.
Yeah. This person wants to know the best security and anti-theft options when traveling abroad, like backpack slings, money belts, locks, and gear that would deter a thief or a pickpocket.
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness really is honestly
the best tool.
The best tool. You, like, if somebody's getting into your backpack, you're gonna feel it. But if you're unaware and you're not really thinking about it, or if you have like your sling on your back versus your front, like there are things you could do without having anti-theft gear specifically. But there are a lot of anti-theft products that are made from like companies specializing in that, like Travelon or PackSafe or something like that. Like they have a lot of gear where you can lock the zippers,
Right.
or it's built into the actual bag itself.
Yeah. All those are good deterrents. I think a lot of theft happens too, like not necessarily when it's on you and you're out and about. So like if you're on the subway, for example, this is where self-awareness comes in. Put your sling on your front if it's super crowded, you know, if you're in
Yeah.
an area that starts to feel a little bit like, maybe there's some scams going on, right? Like it's a very tourist area, or it's
Yeah.
like known for pickpocketing in your research, like keep it in the front, your sling, like keep your wallet in there too, or like some people really like money belts. Like that's really good for when it's on you. The tougher part is when you aren't with your luggage. So it's in the bottom of a bus or something like that, or it's back at the hotel. Like I've only had things stolen from me, knock on wood, when my bag was left back at the hotel.
Yeah.
And I just had a bunch of like USD, well, like $40 USD, like stolen from me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where people should think about this a little bit more. Like there are hotel safes. Sometimes those are a little shady too. From what I've
Yeah.
read, like there are stories of people breaking into those. But I think you can kind of like hide stuff a little too, or like some of the things that I do is if there's a non-apparent pocket in my bag, Air Travel Pack 3, for example, there's like this pocket that you could barely tell is there. Throw stuff in there that you don't want to get stolen, like
Yeah.
cash or extra things like that. And like that's an added security measure too.
Yeah. Or if you're really concerned about something, just bring it along with you throughout the day, you know.
If there are like 20 backpacks in the bottom of a bus, 2 of those bags have locks on them, 18 do not. If I'm a thief, I'm going for the ones without locks first because it's easier and it's
For sure.
faster. So it's like those types of things only help so much. Like if I know there's, you know, $1 million cash in this bag, but there's a small travel lock on it, I'm gonna cut through it and get to that versus the 19 other bags.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it's a good deterrent in those cases to make it a little bit harder to get in.
For sure. And some brands like Topo Designs have very easy lockable zipper tracks just kind of built in where you just like feed the zipper pull through and then it makes it
Yeah.
harder. So it doesn't need to necessarily be like an explicitly like anti-theft
Feature,
bag or a
necessarily,
feature,
yeah.
or a brand or something like that. But we do have a video highlighting a bunch of anti-theft bags. So we'll leave a link to that in the description. But so there's a ton of options out there, but I think there are things like you said, just being aware can do so much
Yeah,
for you
for sure.
without needing to buy specific gear.
Yep.
With the rise in personal item only travel, I'd love to see more content focused on that, which bags, packing suggestions. Most of the videos I've seen feature carry-on size bags. Have you traveled personal item only recently?
Oh yeah, Spirit for sure.
I just flew personal item on
Yeah.
Spirit as well.
Yeah.
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 It's very convenient because you don't have to worry as much about getting on the plane and like finding a spot in the overhead bin. But it can be very limiting. Like how long of a trip is your limit before you would feel like you need to go carry on?
Infinite.
Infinite? You
Yeah,
feel like you
I
could
c-
do
yeah, for
personal
sure.
item for pretty much anything?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and my personal item too is the one I've been taking lately is the 28 liter Evergoods Civic travel bag. So that's been great because it's almost like what I'd take size-wise as like the 35 liter bag is like traveling indefinitely. So
Yeah.
I just have like way less stuff. Or less room for like kind of little accessory stuff, but like it fits all my clothes. It fits the 2 packing cubes I was talking about earlier, the 2 pouches and like a hoodie in the main
Yeah.
compartment, and then there's like other pockets for accessories. So, but it is maxed. Sometimes people will tell me to put it in the box, and I'm like, yeah, no problem, dude. And it's in
Yeah.
there, and it fits perfectly every
It's
time.
deceiving. I have noticed too, people with backpacks don't get flagged as much for being like checking or them checking your personal item
Yeah.
size at the gate.
For sure.
Versus
Especially
like
if
if
you're
you have
big and they
luggage.
can't see it behind you. You're like
Yeah.
standing at this huge bag behind you and they can't see it.
Yeah. So for me, like if my bag, if I'm a little bit dicey about whether or not it's gonna fit, I really make sure it's going to because it can look a little bit big on me. But I've traveled with, we tested a piece of luggage that you can take the wheels off, and it was perfectly sized
Oh, interesting.
for personal items. So if you wanted something more like rolling luggage, those
Yeah.
are an option too. But I do something like a Fjallraven Kanken is great because they're very boxy. They fit very nicely under the seat. But some personal items can, like some airlines can have really small restrictions. So it just depends on what airline you're flying.
It really does. Like the 28-liter bag works on Spirit, but it probably wouldn't work on EasyJet or Ryanair. So like maybe not indefinitely on like, I don't know if I could do indefinitely in a Kanken.
Yes. Yeah, that would be difficult. That's like
it's a fun challenge though.
It is a fun challenge. Yeah. There are some brands that, because a lot of, and at least in the US, a lot of the personal item sizes are very similar, like on Spirit and Delta, you know, that type of a thing, or Frontier or whatever. They do make, like BagSmart makes bags that are specifically like the exact dimensions of that. And so it's like you can't really overpack those bags, but if you want to really maximize the amount of space, there are brands that allow you to do that too.
Totally. The other thing I like about personal item travel is like it's just so light on your back. Like the constraints while you're packing aren't great, but when you're traveling around with that bag, it's so freeing, it's so nice.
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the TikTok travel trends you're seeing that should be myth busted? So this isn't a TikTok travel trend, but we have been seeing a lot of misinformation about a unanimous carry-on size that all airlines are going to say, like, it can't be above this, because right now they kind of determine what their own carry-on is. We've largely found that that is just misinformation. Not a lot of reputable sources are actually reporting on it, and it's all just kind of like the rumor mill being the rumor mill. That like that Europe would say, you know, this is the size that you have to fit within.
Well, that would probably be FAA mandated, right? Like, because all these individual airlines are private, and then all these planes have different bin space or underseat space. So, one, that's kind of impossible because it depends on the train.
Right, exactly.
The plane, not the train, excuse me. And then two, like, if it's FAA mandated, sure. But like, well, I don't know why they'd mandate that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that a lot of people just get confused over what their restrictions are, but really it's just check your airline's restrictions, like before you go. And if a lot of people fly with the same, like you fly Delta or Spirit a lot, I fly Spirit a lot.
Because it's Detroit,
Right, exactly. Like based off where your hub is, you're gonna fly the same airlines a lot.
Yep.
And the best way to know what carry-on size you can bring is just to check with the airline. So as of now, there's nothing going on, but the rumor mill is rumor milling.
It's strong. It's rumor milling.
It is strong, and we will be keeping an eye on that for sure, because it'd be interesting if they do try and do something like that.
It'd be kind of cool. It'd make our job a lot easier.
For sure. Yeah. And bag designers too, where they're like, "Oh, I'm doing a carry-on." It's like,
forget about us.
here's
bag designers.
the bag. You know, like this
go.
bag fits on every airline. Like, what a nice marketing.
There should just be one bag.
One bag. Travel redefined as one bag.
Literally
that
one
travels.
bag, standard
Literally
issue.
one bag.
The SKU number is one.
Bag.
Because that's all that exists.
So hopefully this information will help you plan for your next trip. Let us know if you have some additional questions in the comments below.
Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next video.